The bedroom was dead quiet until Lauren's bare feet slapped the hardwood. I bolted upright, heart pounding. Her sleepwalking always jolted me awake. She drifted toward the window, her nightgown catching the moonlight, and I waited for the usual mumble about groceries or work. But then she whispered, "Nate, please," her voice soft, desperate, like she was pleading with someone real. My breath caught. Nate? Who is Nate? I stared at her back, willing her to say more, but she just swayed, silent now. I slid out of bed, guiding her back under the covers, her skin warm against my cold hands. She didn't wake. I didn't sleep. Morning came, and Lauren was herself again, bright, brewing coffee, chatting about her day. "I'm heading to Susan's this weekend," she said, stirring sugar into her mug. Susan, her college friend from our hometown, 3 hours west. These trips had picked up lately. Once a month turned into every other week. I nodded, sipping my own coffee, but that name, Nate, clawed at me. Was it a dream? A memory? I tried to laugh it off. People say weird stuff when they sleep. But her tone hadn't sounded random. It sounded personal. I've always noticed details others miss. It's why I carry a camera everywhere. Old Nikon, scratched lens, the works. Capturing a stranger's smile or a cracked sidewalk feels like pinning down truth. Lauren teases me about it, says I overthink shadows. Maybe she's right. But as I watched her pack her duffel that Friday, humming some tune, I couldn't shake the feeling those shadows were hiding something. She kissed me goodbye, her lips quick and routine, and drove off. I stood there, staring at the empty driveway, my gut twisting. Therefore, I decided to dig. Not full-on stalking. Not yet, just watching closer. Her phone was locked, but she'd left her laptop open once, and I'd seen emails about Susan's new place. Nothing solid, just a hunch. But hunches grow. That night, alone in our too-quiet house, I pulled out my camera, flipping through old shots of Lauren laughing at the beach. She looked happy then. Was she still? I didn't know anymore. Lauren's sleepwalking hit again that week, worse than before. I was half asleep when her voice cut through the dark. "Nate, don't tell him." Clear as day, trembling with fear. I froze, sheets tangled around my legs, straining to hear more. She paced the room, muttering, "He'll ruin everything." Who? Me? My mind spun, grasping for answers. She collapsed back into bed, oblivious, while I lay there, pulse racing. It wasn't just a name now, it was a secret. Next morning, she acted normal, too normal. Over breakfast, she rambled about Susan's promotion, her eyes darting to her phone every few seconds. I played along, nodding, but watched her closer. She'd always been a bad liar. Her hands fidgeted when she stretched the truth. They were fidgeting now. "Susan's doing great," she said, smiling too wide. I smiled back, but doubt crept in like fog. Was Susan even real anymore? I needed something concrete. That afternoon, while she showered, I grabbed her phone off the counter. Passcode, our anniversary, unlocked it fast. Texts to Susan were vague. "Can't wait to see you," and "missed you last time." Innocent enough. But then I hit the photos. A diner selfie, Lauren grinning, coffee in hand. Behind her, a man's shadow stretched across the booth, broad shoulders, cap pulled low. My stomach dropped. Susan didn't wear caps. I zoomed in. The face was a blur. I could have confronted her then, demanded answers. But I'm not the yelling type. I'm the watching type. Growing up, I'd spend hours framing shots through my camera, waiting for the right moment to click. Patience paid off then. It would now. I put the phone back, heart hammering, and pretended nothing was wrong when she came downstairs, hair damp, humming again. She didn't notice my silence. Therefore, I planned my next move. Her trips to Susan's were too regular. Every second Saturday, like clockwork. I'd follow her. Not out of jealousy, out of necessity. If she was hiding something, I'd see it for myself. That night, I cleaned my Nikon's lens, the familiar weight steadying me. Whatever was waiting out there, I'd catch it. Lauren slept soundly beside me, oblivious, while I stared at the ceiling, plotting. Tomorrow, I'd know. Saturday morning, Lauren was gone before I woke. Duffel packed, car keys snatched, a note on the counter. "Back Sunday. Love you." I crumpled it, grabbed my keys, and hit the road. 3 hours to her hometown, my Honda rattling over the highway. I told myself I was overreacting. She'd pull into Susan's driveway. I'd see them hug, and I'd drive home feeling dumb. But that shadow in the photo, and Nate, kept me pushing the gas. I kept my distance, her blue sedan just a speck ahead. She didn't head to Susan's neighborhood, though. She took an early exit, veering toward Lakeview, a cluster of rental cabins tourists loved. My grip tightened on the wheel. Susan lived in a split level on Oak Street, not some lakeside shack. I followed, slower now, parking behind a gas station when she pulled into a gravel lot. Cabin 7. I grabbed my camera, heart thudding, and crept closer, ducking behind pines. Through the lens, I saw her step out, smoothing her hair. Then the cabin door swung open, and there he was, Nate. My brother. Taller, scruffier, but that same lazy grin I hadn't seen in 10 years. Lauren ran to him, and they kissed, deep, familiar, like this wasn't their first time. My shutter clicked, instinct taking over. Nate. The name slammed me back to when we were kids. He'd been the star, football captain, prom king, while I trailed behind, snapping photos of his glory. Then, at 19, he drained our joint savings, Grandpa's inheritance, and bolted. I'd forgiven him, or thought I had, until now. Seeing him with Lauren, my Lauren, ripped that forgiveness apart. This wasn't just an affair. It was personal. I stayed hidden, snapping more shots, her hand on his chest, his arm around her waist. Each click fueled something dark in me. I could have stormed in, made a scene, but that's not me. I'd wait, gather proof, make them pay later. Therefore, I slipped back to my car, the weight of those photos burning in my hands. Lauren laughed behind me, oblivious as I drove off, plotting. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Driving home, those images looped in my head. Lauren's smile, Nate's smug grip on her. My knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. I caught them, sure, but it wasn't enough. I needed more, something to bury them. Back at the house, I uploaded the photos, staring at the screen as proof piled up. Every frame screamed betrayal, but I stayed calm. Rage wouldn't win this. Precision would. Lauren texted later. Having a blast with Susan. Home tomorrow. I smirked, typing back, glad you're happy. She didn't know I'd been there, didn't know I'd seen. That's how I'd play it. Ignorant, patient, until the moment was right. I spent the night poring over details. Her trips lined up with Nate's old haunts. Lakeview was his kind of place, cheap and off the grid. Had he been lurking this whole time? Memories crept in, uninvited. Nate and I used to fish at Grandpa's cabin, me with my camera, him with his big talk. He'd charm anyone, girls, teachers, even me, until he didn't. That last fight, when he took the money, he'd laughed, said I'd never catch up. I built a life anyway, decent job, Lauren, a quiet routine. Now he'd slithered back, taking her too. But I wasn't that kid anymore. Sunday, she breezed in, glowing, tossing her duffel by the door. Susan says hi. She lied, kissing my cheek. I nodded, watching her unpack. A receipt from Lakeview Gas slipped out. I pocketed it when she turned, adding it to my stash. She rambled about Susan's cooking, but her eyes flickered, avoiding mine. She was good at this, better than I'd thought, but not good enough. Therefore, I doubled down. Next trip, I'd tail her again, build the case tighter. My Nikon sat ready, its lens polished to catch every slip. I wasn't just documenting now, I was hunting. Lauren slept that night, peaceful, while I lay awake plotting angles. She'd whispered Nate's name in her sleep again, softer this time, like a lover's sigh. It didn't break me, it sharpened me. Whatever they thought they had, I'd turn it to ash. One click at a time. 2 weeks later, Lauren announced another Susan trip. She's stressed. Needs a girls' weekend, she said, zipping her bag. I smiled, said, have fun, and watched her go. This time, I was ready, camera charged, tank full, a thermos of coffee to keep me sharp. I followed her again. Same route, same exit to Lakeview. She pulled into cabin 7, and Nate greeted her, casual, like they owned the place. My lens caught it all, her laugh, his hand brushing her back. I stayed longer this time, perched in the woods, snapping shots through the dusk. They cooked dinner, spaghetti, steam fogging the window, and sat close, sharing a bottle of wine. Domestic, comfortable. My stomach churned, but I kept clicking the shutter a steady pulse. A receipt fluttered from her purse when she stepped outside. I zoomed in. Lakeview Diner, 2 meals, dated last month. More ammo. Back home, I spread the evidence on my desk, photos, receipts, a timeline scrawled in my notebook. 3 trips in 6 weeks, all to Nate. I cross-checked her stories. Susan's promotion didn't match the diner's minimum wage vibe. Lies stacked on lies. I could have called her out, watched her squirm, but that was too easy. I wanted them to feel this deep, slow, undeniable. I've always liked control. Not loud, flashy control, quiet, earned kind. Like framing a shot just right, waiting for the light to hit. Grandpa taught me that, hovering over his old and larger as we developed film. Patience, Miles, he'd say. Truth shows itself if you wait. Now, that patience was my edge. Nate thought he'd won again, stealing what was mine. Lauren thought she'd fooled me. They were wrong. Therefore, I shifted gears. Next time, I'd go bigger, plant a seed, let it grow. I dug through our finances, joint account, her name's still on it. A plan formed, sharp and cold. I'd drain it bit by bit, leave them nothing to lean on. But first, more proof. Lauren came home Sunday, all smiles, dropping hints about Susan's new boyfriend. I nodded, filing it away. She didn't suspect a thing, not yet. Lauren's next trip came fast, barely a week later. Susan's having a rough patch, she said, tossing clothes into her duffel. I waved her off, my be safe, as hollow as her excuse. This time, I didn't tail her right away. I'd learned their rhythm, cabin 7, Saturday night, Nate waiting. Instead, I spent the day prepping, camera battery charged, a spare SD card, and a bank app open on my phone. Our joint savings stared back, $12 for 37. Not much, but enough to hurt if it vanished. Saturday evening, I drove up, parking a half-mile from the lake. The woods were thick, air sharp with pine, as I crept toward the cabin. Lights glowed through the curtains. Their shadows moved inside. My Nikon clicked, Nate pouring wine, Lauren leaning close. Then the twist, she pulled out a gift bag, handing it to him. A birthday present? His birthday was months away, unless she didn't know that. I zoomed in. He grinned, pulling out a watch. Expensive. My money, probably. I'd shared everything with Nate once. Summers at Grandpa's, we'd fish until dark. He'd brag about his catch while I framed shots of the lake. Then he took off with our cash, leaving me to rebuild. Seeing him now, wearing my life like a trophy, flipped a switch. This wasn't just betrayal, it was theft again. Lauren laughed inside, oblivious to my lens, and I realized she wasn't the victim here. She was in on it. I stayed until midnight, gathering more. Her car keys on his table, their dishes stacked like a couple's. Each photo tightened my resolve. Confronting them now would be chaos, shouting, excuses, nothing gained. I needed leverage, something to break them without breaking me. Therefore, I drove home, the watch nagging at me. Had she used our account? I checked the bank app, $200 withdrawn Friday. Small, but a start. They were spending my trust, piece by piece. Back in our quiet house, I uploaded the shots, the evidence piling higher. Lauren's text pinged. Staying late with Susan. Love you. I didn't reply. She'd be home tomorrow, smiling, lying. I'd be ready, waiting. Lauren breezed in Sunday afternoon. Hair mussed, eyes bright. Susan's a mess. Boyfriend drama, she said, dropping her bag. A receipt peeked out. Lakeview Liquor, $15. I pocketed it while she showered, adding it to my stash. She didn't notice, humming as she unpacked, tossing me a casual, "Missed you." I nodded, stomach churning. The watch flashed in my mind, shiny, mocking. How long had this been going? I kept up the act, asking about Susan, watching her spin the tale. He's a jerk. Susan deserves better, she said, chopping carrots for dinner. Her knife moved fast, confident like her lies. I'd seen her with Nate, cozy and carefree, not comforting some heartbroken friend. But I smiled, stirring the pot, letting her think she'd won. Inside, I was mapping every move, hers, his, mine. That night, she sleepwalked again. I followed her to the living room, silent, as she whispered, "Nate, it's ours." Ours? My chest tightened. Was it just the affair, or was something bigger? She slumped onto the couch, still asleep, while I stood there, piecing it together. Nate always took what wasn't his. Money, trust, now her. But ours hinted at plans, money, a future, something I hadn't seen yet. I've always been the steady one. After Nate split, I got a job. Accounting, dull, but reliable, while he chased shortcuts. Lauren liked that about me. Predictable, safe. Or so I thought. Now, staring at her curled up, defenseless, I felt the shift. Safety was gone. I was dangerous now. Not loud dangerous. Quiet, like a lens focusing before the shot. Grandpa's voice echoed. Truth shows itself. I make it show. Therefore, it dug deeper. Monday, I called in sick, combing our bank records. Small withdrawals, $50, $100, trickled out over months, nothing glaring but enough to sting. Then I found it, a $500 transfer, labeled Susan loan, dated 2 weeks after Nate's supposed birthday. My jaw clenched. They were bleeding me dry, slow, and smart. I printed it, added it to the folder, photos, receipts, proof. Lauren came home that night, chatting about work while I nodded, plotting. She'd never see it coming. Tuesday, I watched her leave for work, tailored skirt, quick wave, and felt the weight settle. This wasn't suspicion anymore. It was war. I opened my laptop, the folder of evidence glaring back. Photos, receipts, bank slips. Nate's watch gleamed in one shot, a taunt. I wasn't just hurt. I was done. Done playing the fool. I turned their game against them, piece by piece. I started with the money. Our joint account was still active. Her name, my trust. I logged in, moved $5,000 to a new account, one she couldn't touch. Legal? Gray area. State law says joint funds are fair game, and I wasn't asking forgiveness. I left enough to dodge suspicion. $7 for 37, knowing she'd check eventually. She'd notice too late. My hand shook as I clicked confirm, but it felt right. Lauren came home late, tired, muttering about deadlines. I cooked spaghetti, ironic, and asked about her day. She rambled, avoiding my eyes, then said, Susan might need me again soon. I nodded, fork scraping my plate. Soon meant Nate. I'd be ready. My camera sat by the couch, a quiet ally. I caught a stranger's grin at the park once, just because the light hit right. Now, it was catching their downfall. That night, she sleepwalked, whispering, Nate, we're close. Close to what? My mind raced. Escape? A new life? I followed her to the kitchen, where she stood, swaying, then sank into a chair. I didn't wake her. I watched, letting the words sink in. They were planning something, and I was the obstacle. But I wasn't helpless, not anymore. Therefore, I upped the stakes. Next trip, I'd follow again, but smarter. I bought a cheap prepaid phone, untraceable, and tested it. Clear signal, no ties. If they were scheming, I'd hear it. I synced my Nikon to my laptop, backing up every shot. Lauren slept beside me, peaceful, while I lay awake, the plan hardening. She thought I was clueless, plotting miles. Nate thought I'd roll over, like always. They were wrong. I dismantled them, slowly, silently, until they had nothing left. Friday, Lauren packed again. Susan's a wreck, bad breakup, she said, folding a sweater. I nodded, sipping coffee, my prepaid phone tucked in my pocket. She left at noon, and I waited an hour before following. Lakeview again, cabin 7. I parked farther this time, near a trailhead, and hiked in, camera ready. The sun was dipping, casting long shadows as I settled behind a cluster of oaks. They were outside, Nate grilling, Lauren sipping wine, laughing like I didn't exist. My lens caught it, her hand brushing his arm, his wink. Then she pulled out her phone, showing him something, numbers, a screen glowing. I zoomed. It was our bank app. My blood ran cold. They were checking the account. $7 for 37 left, just as I'd planned. Nate nodded, smug, and I clicked the shutter. I'd misjudged her. Lauren wasn't just swept away. She was calculating, too. Back when we met, she'd tease me about my spreadsheets, my need for order. "You're my rock," she'd say. Now that order was her weapon, turned on me. I watched them clink glasses, toasting whatever they thought they'd won. But I'd moved half already. They'd never see it coming. I stayed late, snapping more, Nate tossing a burger wrapper, Lauren scrolling her phone. Then he said something, too low to hear, and she froze, eyes wide. A fight? I leaned closer, risking a branch snap, but caught her reply. Not yet, he'll notice. Notice what? The money? Me? My heart thudded, but I held steady, the camera my anchor. Grandpa's darkroom flashed in my mind. Hours waiting for negatives to bloom. This was my negative, developing slow and sharp. Therefore, I shifted my plan. Confrontation was close, but not rushed. I drained the rest, $7 for 37 before they could act. I hiked back, the prepaid buzzing with a test call I'd set. Clear. Next time, I'd record them. Every word, every lie. Lauren texted later. Staying over. Susan's a mess. I replied, take care, and smiled. She thought she was ahead. Nate thought he'd outsmarted me again. They'd learn soon. I wasn't the brother he remembered. I was better. Saturday night, I drove to Lakeview, the folder of photos on the passenger's seat. Months of proof, every lie in focus. Lauren's Susan trip was in full swing, and I knew Nate was there. I drained the account that morning, $7 for 37 gone, wired to my solo stash. The prepaid phone hummed in my pocket, ready to record. This wasn't about catching them anymore. It was about ending them. I knocked on Cabin 7's door, calm as stone. Lauren opened it, wineglass in hand, her smile collapsing. Miles! Nate stepped up, chest puffed like he'd scare me off. I didn't flinch. I tossed the folder onto the table, photos fanning out. Kisses, dinners to watch. Explain, I said, voice flat. Lauren gasped, glass slipping, shattering on the floor. Nate's smirk faded fast. She stammered, it's not what. I cut her off. Don't. I heard you sleepwalking. Nate, don't tell him. I followed you. I saw. Her face crumpled, tears spilling, but I kept going. And Nate? Your boss got some interesting mail, those shots of you two. Good luck with that. His eyes widened. He lunged, but I stepped back. Savings are gone, too. Cleaned out this morning. Lauren sobbed, Miles, please. I didn't blink. I planned this. Every word, every blow. Not violence, truth. Nate cursed. You're pathetic. I leaned in. No, you are. You took her to hurt me. Admit it. He sneered. Yeah, and it worked. Lauren spun on him. What? I'd sown the seed. He's using you, I said to her. Told me you were easy. A lie, but it landed. She slapped him, screaming. They turned on each other, unraveling, just as I'd pictured. Therefore, I walked out. Lauren's wails chased me. Nate's shouts, too. But I didn't look back. The night swallowed me, cool and quiet, my camera slung over my shoulder. I'd won, hadn't I? Exposed them, broke them, kept my hands clean. But as I drove home, the victory soured. I'd beaten Nate at his game, outsmarted Lauren's lies. So why did the silence feel heavier than before? The drive home from Cabin 7 was a blur, highway lights streaking past, my hands steady on the wheel. I'd left Lauren crying, Nate raging, their little world in pieces. The folder of photos sat beside me, a trophy of sorts, but my chest felt tight, not triumphant. I'd outplayed them, sure, but the silence gnawed. I turned up the radio, some old country tune, trying to drown it out. It didn't work. Back when I was a kid, I'd escaped to Grandpa's darkroom. He'd hover over the trays, showing me how shadows turned into stories. A good shot doesn't just capture, he'd say, it reveals. I lived by that, snapping life as it unfolded, finding truth in the frame. Now, I'd turned that truth into a weapon. Those photos didn't just reveal Lauren and Nate, they destroyed them. I planned it that way, hadn't I? Lauren's sobs echoed in my head, Nate's snarl, yeah, and it worked. He wanted to gut me, and he had for a while. I pulled into our driveway, empty, dark, and sat there, staring at the house. Her stuff was still inside. Sweaters, mugs, lies. I'd won, but it didn't feel clean. I grabbed my camera, flipping through the last shots. Her shock, his panic. Perfectly framed. Perfectly hollow. I could have stopped months ago, confronted her after that first sleepwalk, demanded answers. But I didn't. I waited, watched, built the trap. Why? Because I needed to be right. Needed them to see I wasn't the pushover Nate thought. Now they knew. Therefore, I walked inside, the quiet pressing harder. The fridge hummed. Her note from last week, love you, still stuck to it. I tore it down, crumpled it, and started packing her things. Not out of spite, out of necessity. She wasn't coming back. That night, I slept alone, no footsteps, no whispers. The bed felt too big, but I didn't care. I'd taken everything. Money, trust, their smug little fantasy. They'd scramble now, broken. I'd done that. Me. Miles the quiet one. But as sleep crept in, a question lingered. Had I revealed their truth, or mine? Monday, I called a locksmith. New keys, new locks. Lauren texted mid-morning. Miles, we need to talk. I'm so sorry. I didn't reply. She'd beg at the cabin, tears streaming, but it was too late then, and it was too late now. I stacked her boxes by the door, clothes, books, that stupid candle she loved. The house felt lighter, emptier, mine again. I went back to work, crunching numbers like nothing had changed. Coworkers asked about my weekend. I shrugged, said quiet. They didn't push. I like that about accounting. No drama, just facts. But at lunch, I checked my phone. Nate's LinkedIn was gone. Fired probably after those photos hit his boss. Good. Lauren's next text came. Please, just hear me out. I deleted it. She showed up that night, eyes red, knocking soft. Miles, I messed up, she said through the door. It was a mistake. I opened it, arms crossed. A mistake's forgetting my birthday. You planned this, him, the money, everything. She flinched, then tried again. Nate pushed me into it. He said you'd never know. I laughed, sharp and cold. And you believed him? That's when I twisted the knife. He didn't care about you, I said. He told me you were just a way to get to me. Payback for years ago. Her face crumpled. She shook her head. No, he wouldn't. He did. I lied, watching doubt bloom. She'd trusted him, built something with him. And now that trust was ash. You're both liars, she whispered, backing away. I shut the door, the lock clicking solid. Therefore, she left, taillights fading down the street. I turned them against each other. No fists, no shouting, just words. Nate's spite had fueled this, but I'd finished it. The house settled around me, quiet again, and I poured a drink. Whiskey neat. I didn't feel victorious, not really. I felt done. Lauren's boxes sat there, a reminder of what I'd dismantled. But as I sipped, Nate's voice rang in my ears, payback, and I wondered how deep his hate ran. Tuesday, the bank called. Lauren tried to access the account. It's empty, I told the clerk, voice flat. She's not on it anymore. They hung up, and I pictured her panic, stranded, no cash, Nate useless beside her. I'd moved the rest that weekend, every cent safe where she'd never look. State law backed me, joint funds my call. She'd figure out eventually, but not soon. Work dragged, numbers blurring as Nate's words looped, payback for years ago. What did that mean? He'd taken the inheritance, sure, but I let it go. Built a life, married Lauren, moved on. Or so I thought. I dug through old emails, found one from him years back. You always thought you were better. Bitter, petty. Had he been stewing this whole time? That night, my phone buzzed, unknown number. Miles, it's Nate. His voice was rough, edged with desperation. You ruined me. Job's gone, she's gone. Happy now. I didn't answer right away, letting him stew. You started this, I said finally. Took her to hurt me. He laughed, harsh. Hurt you? I wanted to bury you. Show you I could take anything. My grip tightened. You didn't. He kept going, venom spilling. She was easy, lonely, bored with you. I just gave her what you couldn't. The line crackled. I stayed silent, letting him dig deeper. You're still the same, weak, hiding behind your stupid camera. Weak? I'd outsmarted him, stripped him bare. But his words stung, old wounds reopening. Enjoy the mess, I said, hanging up. Therefore, I sat there, staring at my Nikon on the table. Weak? No. I turned his game around, left him with nothing. But bury you stuck, calculated, personal, deeper than I'd guessed. I pulled out the folder, flipping through shots. Nate's smirk, Lauren's laugh. They'd planned more than an affair. They'd wanted my life. I'd stopped them, sure, but what cost? The whiskey bottle sat empty now, the house too still. I'd won the battle, but Nate's hate and Lauren's choice left scars I couldn't frame away. Wednesday, I woke to a voicemail. Lauren, voice shaky. Miles, I'm at Susan's for real this time. Nate's gone. I can't do this. Please call. I didn't. She'd picked him, built their lie, and now it was crashing. I deleted it, grabbed my camera, and headed out. The park was quiet, early light dew on the grass. I snapped a stray dog, its ribs sharp, and felt a strange calm. Work was routine, but my mind wandered. Nate's call replayed, "Bury you." And I saw it clear now. He hadn't just wanted Lauren. He'd wanted me erased, my stability, my peace. Years ago, he'd taken the money and run, thinking I'd crumble. I hadn't. I'd built something until he came back. Lauren was his tool, and I'd been blind. But not anymore. I got home late, the house dark. Her boxes were still by the door. I hauled them to the curb. Trash day tomorrow. A neighbor waved, curious, but I just nodded. Inside, I found her old scarf, blue, soft, tangled in the couch. I held it, remembering her laugh, then tossed it out. Sentiment was a luxury I couldn't afford now. That night, I dreamed of Grandpa's lake, Nate splashing, me framing the shot. He'd grinned then, carefree before the theft before this. I woke sweating, the truth settling. I'd beaten him, but I'd lost something too. Not Hermie. The Miles who forgave, who trusted, was gone. I traded that for control, for victory. Was it worth it? I didn't know. Therefore, I kept moving. Thursday, I sold her car, still in my name, parked out back. Cash in hand, I added it to the stash. Nate's LinkedIn stayed dark. Lauren's text stopped. They were adrift, and I was here, alone but standing. I walked to the window, camera in hand, and snapped the empty street. The shot was stark, cold like me now. I'd torn them down, kept my hands clean, but the quiet pressed heavier than ever. Months later, spring crept in, grass greening, air warming. I'd settled into the new normal. Work, home, camera. The house was mine now, her boxes long gone, her scent faded. I heard through a friend, Susan, the real one, that Lauren was crashing there, waitressing single. Nate? Vanished, probably broke. I didn't check. Didn't care. I'd changed, though. The old Miles, steady, forgiving, felt like a ghost. I was sharper now, harder. Work noticed, promoted me for catching a client's error, a detail others missed. I nodded, took the raise, but it didn't fill the space. Evenings, I'd roam with my Nikon, snapping dusk, empty benches, lone figures. Each shot was mine, controlled, no one else's story sneaking in. Sometimes I'd replay it, her sleepwalking, Nate the cabin. I'd been meticulous, patient, turning their lies into my win. No fist, just proof, photos, bank moves, words. I'd drained them dry, left them scrambling, and walked away. Nate's "bury you" still echoed, but he'd failed. I was here, standing, while he sank. Lauren's pleas faded too. She'd chosen, lost, learned. But the cost lingered. I'd sit with a drink, staring at those last shots, her tears, his shock. I wanted them to see me, really see me, and they had. Too late. Now the house was too big, the bed too cold. I didn't miss her, not the liar she'd become, but the quiet stung. I'd traded trust for strength, and it fit mostly. Therefore, I kept shooting. The camera was my tether, truth in every click, no betrayal in the lens. I'd framed their end, and now I framed this, me alone, stronger, emptier. Was it worth it? Maybe. I'd survived, outsmarted them, kept my soul intact. That's what mattered. Thank you for tuning into this story. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know, what part of the world are you watching from right now? Let us know in the comments.